Listen, a one location thriller crime movie, hate to see me coming, okay? Because I'm ready to go. I'm taking notes. I'm ready to watch. I'm ready to be entertained. This is exactly up my alley. So Blink Twice is the directorial and screenwriting debut of actress Zoe Kravitz, as we all know, daughter of Lisa Bonet and Lenny Kravitz. It is a crime, thriller, suspense, mystery film. It chronicles the tale of Frida, who is an event worker who has aspirations and dreams of a better life. When she meets her idol Slater King at an event she's working, and he invites her to his private island. When they get to the island, things start to get a little crazy, things start to act a little weird, and then we basically, go from there. So of course this review is gonna have spoilers. I like to start off by saying overall, I thought the movie was enjoyable. I had a good time watching the movie. I don't think it was a cinematic masterpiece of any kind, but I think that it was a great debut by Zoe Kravitz. I think that she has a perspective. I think she has something to say, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else she comes up with. The movie did remind me of a couple other films that I have seen before. It definitely gave a little bit of Get Out energy. It definitely gave a little bit of Don't Worry Darling, indie slasher film type vibes. I also did really appreciate the color of this film, because a lot of films, they love to go with the typical blue and orange hues, but this film was very red, very green, very yellow, like red, brown, green, like these kinds of colors, which I really appreciated. And I feel like it made the film look different. It made it look more unique compared to others. The cinematography in the film is gorgeous. I'm not sure. I'll put the answer here. It looks like it was shot on film, but it's an absolutely gorgeous film, beautiful cinematography. Besides the initial location of the event, of Slater King's event and gala, besides there, it took place on his island. I feel like a lot of movies are like that because they're trying to keep the budget down these days, but I feel like that also is a great opportunity to be creative. And your girl is trying to figure out how I can write a feature in one location, okay? I have my first feature that I've written already, which has several locations. Now I gotta figure out how to write one that has one location, because that's probably gonna be the first one that I do when I do. Anyway, this is not about me and my film career, but let's get into this story. The film starts out with Frida sitting on the toilet, looking at her phone, uploading some pictures of her nails, because she likes to do nail art with animals on it, and she's just doom scrolling on Instagram. Frida seems to be obsessed with Slater King, this tech billionaire who she follows on Instagram. This is, I guess, my first criticism of the movie is that, okay, he's an attractive guy, but she seems to be like somewhat obsessed with him, like a fan of his, and that really isn't ever really explained explicitly in the film. So while she's sitting on the toilet, her roommate Jess, who's I guess like her best friend, comes and asks her for the rent, and there's like a little exchange there. So it's kind of gives off that she's like, might be struggling with money. Again, she's an event worker. She goes to work at this event. They're preparing for Slater King's a gala or a fundraiser of some kind for Slater King. Her boss comes up to her and tells her that, listen, last year when we did this event, you were a little too chatty, you gotta reel it back in this year. And she's like, okay, well, he's the one that approached me. He was the one that's talking to me. He said he liked my nails. And her boss is like, whatever, it doesn't matter. Just be invisible. Don't talk to anybody. The end. So she's working the event. She's pouring people champagne. And then afterward, her and her friend decide to put on some nice dresses and go to the gala after the event. And there she actually gets to meet Slater King in person, and she's very surprised because he seems to be showing like the same interest and allure to her that she is to him. Then they all started hanging out, including Jess, and with him and his friends, and they're drinking and having a good time and just like, dancing the night away pretty much. And there's another girl in their group called Sarah who is there, and she's also seems to be interested in Slater. Her and Frida throughout the film have this kind of like competition going on, like, ooh, who's getting his attention more. And it's mostly coming from Sarah towards Frida. She seems to be very jealous of the attention that Slater King is giving to Frida. Slater King ends up deciding that he's going to go to his private island with his friends, and he invites Jess and Frida to come along last minute. And you know what? They, in the clothes that they're wearing with their cell phones, they go with him. And they get on his private jet and they fly to a private island. So at this point, it's kind of insinuating like it's like Epstein's Island, Jeffrey Epstein's Island or something like that. I did watch a couple other reviews and they were saying that. And even the interview with Zoe, they talked to her about that, about this idea of like it being Epstein's Island. She said that that is part of it. But when I first saw it, what it reminded me of is like the concept of like being flued out, right? All the, you know, rappers, the athletes, the soccer players, football players, basketball players. I mean, I'm sure even tech billionaires that meet women that they find attractive, or even maybe meet women that they think that they can get over on, they can take advantage of, women that they can really impress, put them on a plane and fly them out to somewhere exotic to do what they will. The same girls that go to Dubai, or the quote unquote yacht girls, like all the hot girls that wealthy men will have come and sit on a boat with them and just, you know, look pretty, and hopefully something happens between them. Or even sometimes, you know, they pay girls to do that specifically, you know, for that. So they go to this private island and everything seems like it's just too good to be true, which of course, you know, it usually always is. Slater King's team has prepared outfits for them, dresses, bikinis, everything in their size. And Jess, she's like the only one that seems to be questioning what's going on. Frida is just like super happy to be there. Like she's just like really excited and everything's perfect, and she really likes Slater King. She really like wants to be close to him, and every moment that she can, she gets close to him. The middle part of the film does feel a bit repetitive. Like it did feel like kind of like a music video on crack a little bit. Them waking up, them having a beautiful time, then, you know, having dinner, drinking, doing drugs, forgetting the night, all these kind of things over and over and over again. And at one point I was like, listen, I've had some benders in my life, okay? I have done this before. I have done the drinking, partying night and day again and again. You know, I've been there, okay? I've been out in these streets. But after like 3 or 4 days, you'll be like, I think I'm ready to go home now. I don't want to look at alcohol again. This is when you start saying things like, I'm never drinking again. And then a couple days later, you're like, wow, I had the best time of my life. Anyway, so memories. Everybody's smoking and different stuff. And like Jess has this lighter that everyone always wants to borrow because no one has a lighter to light their cigarettes or their joints or whatever. And so she's always passing around her lighter. And like this lighter kind of represents a constant. If you guys remember in Inception, how each person had like their constant thing that would just like, you spin it, and if it does something weird, then you could tell you're in a dream, or if it does the right thing, then you could tell that you're in real life. This kind of thing kind of represents that. They're all doing, you know, doing drugs, having a good time. And then out of nowhere, Jess just screams because she gets bitten by a snake. And so apparently this property is overrun by snakes, and they have a lot of staff that don't really speak English, but they look like they're like indigenous Americans. So I don't know if this is somewhere closer to that side of the Caribbean, but they look like indigenous people. So she gets bit by a snake, and then they're like, oh, well, come on, let's keep partying. And she's like, no, I need a break. And so she goes and sits by herself, and Frida comes over to her and is like, you know, are you okay? And Jess is like, no, I want to go home. Like, this is not right. Like, something here is not, don't you feel it? Don't you feel like something bad's going to happen? But she's like, no, this is the first time in my life that I've ever felt seen by people, which, you know, I can't blame her. I know what it's like. I know it's like being an outsider, being a loner, being overlooked. And I have also been like that with a friend who has wanted to go home and I'm like, no, please, come on. Like, let's just stay, you know, hoping something great is going to happen. And let me tell you, it almost literally never, ever, ever, ever does. And her friend agrees. She's like, all right, I'm sorry. Like, you know, it's fine. Like, I understand you. Frida wakes up. Everything is good. Like, everything is normal. And she goes to hang out with the girls again. Then she realizes that her friend is gone. And it's funny because I was thinking like she was going through the whole day, you know, just chilling, doing this and that. And then she didn't even realize that her friend was gone. And so finally she realized that her friend was gone, and then she starts out to look for her and she can't find her. And I'm gonna kind of get lost of the timeline of events in the middle, so I'm just gonna say things that happen. Like, so she's going out looking for her friend. She finds like one of Slater King's like little houses. She goes in there. She sees there's a bunch of red bags in there with perfume. Then she ends up running into one of the land keepers and one of the snake catchers. And the snake catcher keeps saying, "Red rabbit, red rabbit, red rabbit" to her. And she ends up giving her this green liquid to drink. And so she drinks and spits it out. She's like, "Oh my God, what the hell is that?" And then lady like gestures and she looks over and there's a bunch of dead snakes in the basket. So she was basically drinking snake venom liquor or something. She starts to remember, she realizes that the snake venom is kind of like waking her up to what's really going on. And then she can't believe that none of the people there remember her friend Jess. And so they all say like, "Girl, you're tripping." So she goes back to her bedroom. She starts freaking out, like, "What's going on? Like, I'm so afraid, like, what's happening?" And the other girl, Sarah, the one who was in competition with her, comes to her in the room and was like, "Listen, you're kind of crazy and everything, but I found this lighter that has the girl Jess' name on it." And so she's like, "You remember her, but I don't remember her. So what's going on with that?" Then she starts to tell her that, "Do you feel like you're having a good time, but that you're also not having a good time? Like, do you know what I mean?" And I thought that was interesting because I watched a couple different reviews. There are some elements to this that I feel like other people might not get if you have not lived the party lifestyle. The party lifestyle is very surreal. And I feel like there were some Easter eggs in there that, like that line, "I'm an ex-party girl, hard party girl," okay? You know, there was a time when I used to go out, like, let's say five times a week. Don't get me wrong, some nights were really great, like we would be dancing. One of those types of clubs that you have tables at, right? They buy the bottles that are like $700, $800, $1,000, you know what I mean, with the sparklers and all that stuff. But all nights are not like that. And there are a lot of people that go to the club and you're not even partying, you're not even dancing, you're socializing, but even your party friends, like there were people that I would see like fucking 3 days, 4 or 5 days a week, barely know their first name, don't know anything about them, you know, because it's loud in there, so you can only talk but so much. So it's like you're all just kind of like zombies, just like crawling back to the club, you know, every night. Like, it's weird. It's weird. I took a lot of footage during this time period because I wanted to do a documentary. I was a little young, and I was like, what, 24? Like, but I wanted to do a documentary on nightlife because it's so psychological. So that line really reminded me of that, of like how many people go out and party and do all this stuff, and you're like, hey, you're having fun, and you're actually really not having fun. Another issue that I have with the movie is that this is a feminist film, which I love. We here for it. I love this. I love the messages. Y'all can get on and say, "This woke shit, I don't care. La 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 la." I love the woke feminist films. Bring them on more and more. Delicious, okay? She had something to say with this, and I really appreciated it. The only thing though is that, like, for like the first, 45 minutes of this music video partying montage, it was like there was no message, and then all of a sudden, message.
I guess even though we were free, we were still slaves. In the mind.
I didn't like the sudden, "Oh, I understand what this movie's about now," which there was another movie that was like that, which was Poor Things, another feminist film, weird ass film. I was gonna possibly do a review on that, but that film was too fucking weird. I just can't see myself pulling it together to tell that in a cohesive fashion. And so I feel like there could have been more of a crescendo. What is a crescendo? More of a crescendo. And there was like one girl boss line in there that I was like, listen, we can make movies feminist as okay? But you gotta be subtle about it. Like, yes, we can tell this is a girl boss, get back at our words film, but you don't have to make it so nail on the head and obvious, That was my big problem with Barbie movie. You could have told a feminist film about the patriarchy without actually saying it, man. Like, look at Mulan. So there was some girl boss line that I don't really remember. It was like, girls, we always have to like go against each other when we really should be helping each other. It's like, she didn't need to say that. They could have showed like more outward competition of the girl being jealous earlier, like the girl Sarah, and then she could just apologize, like, look, I'm sorry, I was being a bitch. Anyway, there's also another character in the movie that I forgot to mention, which is this woman. She played basically like Slater King's secretary, which I thought was like his mom. She's not his mom, apparently. I think maybe the things that happened at the resort also happened to her. Her mind is all over the place. She's forgetting everything. She's organizing everything for him. If we're going off the Jeffrey Epstein thing, like kind of how like Ghislaine Maxwell was like arranging everything for Jeffrey. That's the case with a lot of these shits. There's always some dusty hoe, okay? There's always some dusty heifer who helps these men do these raggedy, nasty things that they do. So I think that that was supposed to be about her. Frida has realized that the snake poison is waking her up. So she gives Sarah some snake poison to wake her up. And then they trick the other girls by giving them shots to also drink the poison to wake them up, right? And so they're headed for the final night with the final showdown. Then we discover, as she starts to have more flashbacks, that what is going on at this retreat, this is not a retreat, at this vacation is absolute hell. It turns out that these men are drugging them and having their way with them throughout this whole time. I feel like this represents, you know, a lot of these Hollywood parties, especially when they get like your regular people that they get to come to these. They bring them there, they drug them up, they drink them up, women, men too, even, and they assault them. I feel like this is Zoe's way of perhaps saying like, look, this is what happens at these types of things. I don't even think it's just Jeffrey Epstein. This is what happens at these types of parties. So Frida is trying to figure out how to get them out of there, right? She needs to go get her cell phone because they took her phone in the beginning of the movie. And so she goes to Slater King's bedroom. She starts searching through his closet and she finds tons of pictures, tons and tons of pictures. That was something else that was also going on, was one of the guys in the film was taking a lot of pictures. And again, reminds me of the Diddy thing, right? Supposedly Diddy has videos and pictures of everybody doing everything. I don't know if it's to some sick, twisted way to remember your crime or remember how much fun you had when you were doing this horrible stuff, or if possibly to save for later for blackmail. You know, these men were committing horrible acts against these women. I noticed that, you know, Slater King, he's a good looking guy. He's the wealthy guy. He's a billionaire guy. And these other guys, you know, they have money too, but like they might not be able to get the same types of girls that Slater King would get. And that was something that I saw definitely during my partying days, is that there'll be the celebrity and then it'll be his orbiters around who are just trying to like catch the scraps of women that don't make it to get to the main guy. I mean, we've all heard of disgusting stories about R. Kelly, who he'd be in the back of the bus, and in order for a fan to get to the back of the bus to be with R. Kelly, she would have to do things with a security guard, a manager, or this person till she gets to the back. This is something that really happens to people, really happens to women. This is not uncommon. This is not rare. This is happening right now, probably on some island in the Caribbean or in the Pacific. Another interesting thing was there was one character there who was like this kind of shrimpy young guy. He's just like also bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and like, oh my god, and like everything's so great. His character kind of confused me because it seemed like he was with the guys, like trying to be with them, like down with what they're doing. And when they showed the flashback, it showed him like, no, like I can't or something. I feel like Zoe missed an opportunity to make him a victim. Now that would have been a good ass twist in the movie if he too, this little like skinny like effeminate guy, if he too was a victim, if he too was being drugged and had the perfume and shit and all this stuff, if it was happening to him too, because it does happen to men all the time in this business. So I thought that would have been really interesting if like he helped them get out because he too was also being abused and he didn't know it. A large theme in the movie is this idea of forgiveness and forgetting. And so the character of Frida, she's like, I don't want to remember anything. I like to forget. As does Slater King. He had a lot of trauma in his life that he doesn't remember. and he thinks that forgetting is better than trying to forgive somebody, which did seem like it was just something that they talked about rather than something that they lived. Now, when I watched some interviews of Zoe talking about this movie, she said a large thing that inspired her about this movie was power. We love power over here. I talk about power all the damn day long. You go on my TikTok, I talk about corporate power. I talk about government power. You know, the oligarchy that we live in, the corporate overlords, up my shit, okay? And she talked about how Frida is someone who works pouring champagne, but she wishes that she was a person that someone was pouring champagne for her. I love this idea. I love this concept, but I don't feel like the film executed power and power dynamics. I mean, I think it did with Slater King or whatever, but I don't think it showed that very strongly. She wanted to be a part of it. I feel like they could have show her like maybe trying to get advice, or like, how do I get my start? How do I become like you? That was a thing that I remember noticing while watching the movie, was like, why do we always get the tail end of their conversations? Like when it cuts to someone, they're always like, ha ha ha, ha. That's so funny. But it's like, we never heard the joke. So it did come off very like fever dreamy. The dialogue didn't have enough information. We got bits and pieces here and there. There was a lot of showing and not telling, but I would have liked to hear about the desire for power when I'm not working in film production, which is a very hierarchical business. It's very, very hierarchy based. And you know it. For example, when I'm not doing production, like, you know, I'll do deliveries or whatever, like other random gig work type jobs. I don't use these services. I don't use Uber Eats. I don't use DoorDash or anything like that, because I don't like how they don't pay the drivers. I don't like how many fees they cost. I don't like making those companies richer and richer and richer and richer. Meanwhile, the people, the drivers and the restaurants that work with them are getting poor. You know the deal. But if I had money, oh my God, I would love to get grocery delivery. So I thought that was interesting, because that's something I thought about. I'm like, okay, you know, I'm slaving around for, you know, a white man on a vacation in St. Bart somewhere. Now, if I was up in a higher position, like, and the people were slaving, like, am I going to treat them the same way the people above me treat me? You know, am I going to do that? I thought it was interesting. It's an interesting concept to explore. But the film didn't show that. The film didn't really express that. That's what its intention was. And so Frida, you know, she realizes that they killed her friend. I know I'm jumping around in time. There's a lot going on, okay? You know, the final climax, the girls start to remember everything. That snake poison starts hitting the back of the throat, started in the back of the throat. And one of the girls, I remember, it was so funny, because when she talks, I was like, yo, this girl sounds like she's from the Bronx or something. Like, she sounds like she's from up there, over there, like. And she said, yo, I'm from Dykeman. I was like, oh my God. I thought that was funny. But anyway, she blacks on him. She kills Haley Joel Osment. She tries to kill the other guy. All the girls start fighting back. Once Sarah and Frida realize what's going on, it's hard for them to fake it. It's hard for them to let the guys touch them, or to like fake laugh, and like it's hard for them to do that. And she's like, you gotta fake smile, you gotta pretend like you're having a good time. Are you having a good time? Are you having a good time? Again, I think that was another Easter egg of, if you party, then you know what this is. They really do be asking you that shit. It's like, bro, leave me alone. They really do be asking, are you having fun? Are you having a good time? Are you having a good time? Are you having a good time? And of course, you're just expected to say, yeah, I'm having fun. Yeah, I'm having a good time, when you're really not having a good time. You know, once the girls can't fake smile anymore, she starts to dance. And she's like, all right, let's dance. And they turn on some music, and they're just dancing. And, you know, this is, of course, leading to all hell breaking loose. So the mother figure lady who's helping Slater King, you know, pull off this whole scheme, she starts to wake up, And Frida's like, are you, like, do you get it? Are you okay? Like, the woman ends up attacking Frida. She's like, I don't want to remember. I want to forget. Like, I don't want to remember this shit. And so then she starts to attack her and chokes her. And then Frida pushes her back and stabs her. The woman's like, oh my God, help me. And Frida's like, I tried to help you, bitch. Which it was a good line, but it also speaks to the pick me argument of like, we're trying to liberate you heifers. We're trying to liberate you pick me's. You want to be a part of his club. You just want to be up under his balls. Girl, stand up. Stand up. Get off your knees, okay? What they were doing to these women was absolutely horrible. And they had a military man, a Marine, who was there to keep them in line and or kill them if one of them starts to remember. We get to the climax of, you know, all hell's breaking loose. Half the guys are dead. Half the girls are dead. It's just Sarah and Frida. Sarah ends up shooting the guy, the little effeminate like shrimpy guy. She ends up shooting him, which I'm like, okay, I guess he was not a part of them. But Slater King actually called him out minutes before, saying like, you're useless. Like, you didn't harm them like we did, but you also didn't help them. So what good are you? I just realized that. And Slater King even said, he said, there's a special place in hell for people like you. You didn't harm, but you also didn't help. So what good are you? And then literally minutes later, he gets shot in the head. So he didn't even actually do anything to the girls. He didn't even harm them. But because he stood by and watched and let it happen, he too is also, you know, guilty. He too is also getting that bullet. Frida's in there. It's the whole Red Rabbit thing. Turns out that she was at the island before, and she had her nails painted with red rabbits on them. And she only realized this when she saw the picture. So this was her second time coming. And so again, she starts to remember this. And so Frida ends up giving Slater some of his memory killing potion or whatever. And he smokes it. So, you know, when you smoke that shit goes directly to the brain, to the neurotransmitters. Okay, it goes directly into the lungs, the bloodstream, everything. So he forgets like almost right away. So they take him out of the house, which is on fire at this point. They're burning everything down, and Sarah helps her drag him out. And then Sarah's like, are you sure you know what you're doing? Like, you sure you want to do this? And she's like, yeah. Then we get a flash forward of time jump. So it turns out that Frida has married Slater King, and she now owns his company. And so one of the men that also had, you know, assaulted her, he's there, and she gets the police or security or somebody to get him. And now she has this big rock on her finger, and she's wearing a hard ass wig, so you know she's living a soft ass life. It's just like, oh, she's just happy. She's just like, now she's like in charge. And so I felt like that ending kind of calls to the argument of, there will be people who, like, let's say women who this kind of thing happens to them, and then they sue and they get like, you know, $10 million, or like what happened with Cassie or whatever. And people are like, well, why did she sue? Why did she take him to jail? Listen, not every woman is gonna see that jail is justice, okay? That dude ruined her life. And you know what? Being a billionaire, that could make things a lot better. I can get the therapy that I need. I can move to a beautiful place if I need to recover. Exercise when I want. I can see beautiful, beautiful nature. I can have pets. I can have the beautiful house of my dreams. I can do whatever I want as a career. It's not going to make up for the trauma. It's not going to go away. It's not going to be like a prescription cure-all remedy, but it could make life a lot easier for someone who's been through something like that. And I think it's interesting that, you know, they showed a woman who made that choice. I don't know what happened to Sarah, you know, she kind of disappeared. We didn't really see her, but that was a choice that she made for her trauma, and that for her was a win. That was how she won. She took all his money and she married him. And I think she just married him just so she could keep track of him and make him keep forgetting by giving him the potion or whatever. That was it. That was the movie. So overall, like I said, I thought it was a good movie. I thought it was enjoyable. I thought it was a fun movie, you know. I think it's a good debut film by Zoe Kravitz. I will say that there were a couple mistakes I did see in the movie. There were mistakes, some editing mistakes, shots that were trying to make something else that is just like, I know what you were trying to do just because I'm a filmmaker, but this is not that. Like, it just didn't make sense. Like some cuts that just just were not right. That like, again, like I said, they're trying to make it seem like something, which again, like I said, I usually don't accept those. Like if it's someone like me who's doing a short film for $200 to $300, okay, a mistake, or any of my peers. But if you're having millions of dollars, Nepo baby money, I didn't let Tyler Perry pass with this, so I'm not gonna let it pass here. Chloe did say that they all stayed at the same place that they shot, so I can only imagine that must have been so fun that, you know, they just slept there and they just did this project together and that they hung out together. So again, like I said, it was a fun movie. It had a good message. Like I said, a feminist movie. Don't want to see me coming, okay? Because I'm ready. I do feel like some of the other themes could have been stronger, especially the power, the whole thing about power. So that's all I have for you guys. If you guys have seen this movie, please let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Make sure you like and share this movie with your movie loving friends. Sharing is very important, okay? Likes and comments are very important. I need you. I need you. Anyway, guys, see ya. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.